Muse. It's me. You remember me, right? If you don't know me by now, I'm not going to introduce myself because it just won't matter. You'll never know me, but I know you know me and you're just being coy. Anyway, I had something very, very particular that I wanted to talk about, something that was more in line with the nuts and bolts of writing, and it's really cool. But something happened to me today, and it reminded me of a topic that I feel needs to be repeated over and over again. And I don't think I've actually addressed this topic for a while, so it bears repeating. Now, what happened to me today was kind of a personal milestone that has absolutely nothing to do with writing, while at the same time having everything to do with writing. You'll understand in a moment. I'm going to preface this by telling you a little story, a little backstory about me, Muse, that you probably know because you are my Muse and you've been around me for a very long time. When I was a child, I had a bone degenerative disorder, and it ate away my right hip. And I first wore a pair of funky little shoes that I actually still have, where one was about this high and the other one was about this high. One was a Frankenstein shoe and one was a regular shoe. Everybody made fun of me because that's what kids were wont to do. Well, that didn't work, and then they put me in a brace, and then they tried casts of all sorts, and when those didn't work, they finally operated and they put a big pin in my hip to kind of piece my bones back together. And they grew and they refused, and not refused, they regrew because there was nothing to fuse because it just ate away my bone. The doctors told my parents that by the time I would be in my mid-20s or so, I would probably have arthritis bad enough that I would quite possibly be bound to a wheelchair. And very shortly after I got out of the hospital and I was able to walk again, my father put me on a bicycle and he made me ride. And he made me ride a lot. And in elementary school, I was riding 25-mile bike rides with my dad. So I believe that helped me to overcome this problem. And so I continued riding my bicycle, and eventually I raced mountain bikes and did all sorts of crazy things. And at the same time, I also started running. And this is where the milestone comes in. Sorry to drag it out, but you needed that backstory. So I've been running for on and off for 10 years, and I've had issues. I've had Achilles tendon issues. I've had IT band problems. I've had hamstring problems. You name it, I've suffered it. But with enough care and attention, I've been able to work through it. Well, today, on my 7-mile run, I finally managed to run a sub 8 minute mile pace. That's been a goal of mine for a long time. And there have been a number of occasions where I've almost given up, not just on that goal, but given up on running because of the various and sundry ailments that afflicted me. But I kept running because I did not want to give up. I am not one to give up. And that's where today's topic comes from. Giving up. Or the opposite of that, not giving up. It's a hard knock life being an artist in this world, because there is, at any moment, you feel like the world is against you. And you just don't know where you're going to find the strength to carry on. And think about this right at this very moment. We are suffering from a pandemic. Things have shut down across the globe. Artists of all types are not being able to practice their craft. Theaters have shut down with no hope of starting up again. I mean, there's hope. They will. The theater has undergone many sorts of pandemics and has survived. But at this time, actors and directors and choreographers and singers, dancers, musicians, stage managers, they're not able to do what they do. And I can tell you that yesterday, in particular, I had one of those moments where I desperately needed to feel that connection with other people, other like-minded people. I needed to be in a rehearsal. I needed to be performing a show. It hit me hard and profound yesterday. And I thought, when is it going to happen again? Is it ever going to happen again? And then, of course, in the back of my mind, I thought, of course it's going to happen again. It has to happen again. Because the world is not the world that we want to live in without the arts. But anyway, back to my original subject. Every time I finish a new book, I think, this is the one. This is the one that's going to finally break the cycle. I've had them before. I've had books that I've released that have broken various and sundry cycles. But the cycle always returns, as cycles are wont to do. And when that next book doesn't break the cycle, I don't give up. I could. It would be very easy to give up. It would be very easy to step back and say, you know what? I've tried. I've had some successes. I've had some failures. It's time to give it up. But I don't. Why do I personally not give up? Well, from my perspective, I cannot not create. I have to create. Either on stage or in a book. I have to create. If I am not creating, I am losing my mind. I had a very brief period of my life where I wasn't creating in any way, shape, or form. And I felt my soul shriveling up. And I thought for sure that I was going to come out of that on the other side and be a completely different person, one that I didn't recognize, one that I didn't like, one that I did not want to be. And finally, I said enough is enough. I quit that day job, that desk job that I absolutely did not belong in, and I stepped right back onto the stage. And I felt my heart and my soul grow 10 times larger than it had been. I cannot not create. But that's not the case for everybody. There are some writers out there who are fine writing or not writing. They love to write, but they don't have to write. So the idea of giving up isn't quite as drastic for them. But why? Why would you want to give up? Now, it would be one thing if you had enough people tell you that, well, you tried and you're probably not cut out for this for one reason or another. Maybe your skin is too thin, or maybe your talents are best used in other artistic arenas. That's a kind way of putting it, I guess. Maybe you can write a perfect sentence, but you can't tell a story, or maybe you can tell a great story, but you simply can't put that story into words. And if that's the case, then giving up is okay, because you tried and it didn't work out. But for those of you who absolutely know that your chosen artistic craft is your path, then giving up is not an option. Now, that does not mean that success is on the horizon, because there are so many variables involved with success. One of them, one of the biggest variables involved in success, is luck. And luck simply may not be on your side. It may, hopefully, someday, but you'll never know. And that's the big thing. You'll never know unless you try. Unless you keep on keeping on. You could be telling yourself, why am I bothering? Or asking yourself, I suppose, why am I bothering? Why shouldn't I just give up? And you keep asking yourself that question, and eventually you just say, okay, I'm done. But you never know what the universe had in store for you. You could have given up, and that next novel that you were going to write could have been the one. Why would you take a chance on not allowing yourself that opportunity? I always tell myself that as long as I am making sure that the book I'm writing right now is better than the book I wrote previously, then I'm on the right path. And at some point, if I keep improving like that eventually luck is going to strike and everything is going to fall into place and things are going to go my way. Now, I'm not one to complain. I've had some pretty good successes as an artist. I spent 20 years of my life making a living as an actor. That's pretty good considering the odds. And I've had some pretty good successes as a writer. I make my living as a writer. That's, again, pretty good considering the odds. But even still, there are days and nights and weeks and months where I just think, what's the point? And then, of course, my conscience slaps me across the face and says the point is you can't not do this. But the truth of the matter is, if you're an artist, if you truly are an artist, you know to your core that you cannot give up, that giving up is simply not an option. I have known actors who have struggled for years, subsisting on nothing but ramen and Pop-Tarts, until they finally made it. I did that. Trust me. Ramen and Pop-Tarts and I were really good friends when I was living in a carriage house by myself. And I was happy because I was making my living as an actor. Barely squeaking by, but I made my living as an actor. I was alone, so it was possible. But I didn't give up. Never. And I won't ever give up. Giving up is not in my DNA. And if you ever hit that wall, when you have published your, 10th, 15th novel, and you're still not finding any success, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror going, why am I bothering? Ask yourself this one question. What would it be like if I didn't create anything? What would it be like if I shrugged off the clothing of artistry and lived a normal life? Do you have normal in you? That's a big, important question. Because most artists that I know would read that question and hiss like a pissed off cat. Because normal and artistry don't usually go hand in hand. They are not chums. They are not BFFs. They are not buddies or pals. There are plenty of people out there in the world who do normal and do it really well. Let them. Let them do what they do. But you're an artist. You are not normal. And you do not give up. because to give up is to accept normalcy. Are you okay with that? I don't think you are. I'm not. I never have been. I never will be. Anyway, I am now going to go rest a little bit because that sub 8-minute mile has worn on my legs a bit and I need a little bit more hydration. But Muse, thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for keeping me weird. And thank you for keeping me in artistry. Because without it, the only alternative is normal. You're awesome, Muse.